Alright guys, you know that we enjoy the terrifying intricacies of folklore and mythology here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and throughout history the deep dark minds of our ancestors have managed to conjure some pretty horrifying manifestations of their shared fears and the things that go bump in the night. Most mythological creatures have served as an allegory for very real stigmas and taboos that have plagued our societies, marked as a warning sign never to wander too close to a raging river or venture too close to a cliff edge or to, I don't know, eat your neighbour. Well, I guess we better take a look at some of the scariest. Hello horror fans, what's going on, and welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host Jack Finch, as today we curiously take a look at the top 5 scariest creatures from mythology. Roll the clip.
Hola.
Sois vos? For the curious amongst you, that clip was from the incredible mythological fantasy horror Pan's Labyrinth. Of course it is, guys. This is a mythological creatures list, and Guillermo del Toro was just like, yo, I'm gonna make my own, and I'm gonna make him the Pale Man, and he's horrifying. Yeah. Anyway, kicking off at number 5, the Strigoi. Vampires, vampires, vampires. We love them, they love us, probably, or, well, they love our blood, anyway. But whatever the incarnation throughout culture and folklore, vampirism has managed to strike a chord in the horror hearts of humanity. But in one of their first depictions, the Strigoi of Romanian mythology are far more terrifying than anything else. Their name, which originates from the Latin terms strix and striga, are often correlated to European colloquial terms for witches and warlocks, and a particular type of ill-omened nocturnal flying creature. In Romanian though, the term Strigoi literally means to scream. Spooky. Well, one of the very first historical mentions of the Strigoi was with the infamous Yuri Grando, who we've covered several times on this channel, a man that just wouldn't die despite being dead for 16 years and who had a particular thirst for human blood. As their legend began to pass, the Strigoi became much more correlated towards the conventional vampire we know now. Beautiful, dangerous, pale-skinned creatures, but the real horrifying face of the Strigoi was a twisted, contorted, undead beast that ate children. Coming in next at number 4, the Draugr. If you've ever played the Elder Scrolls series, then you'll be very familiar with these guys, but in actual fact, the origin of the mythological Draugr is much more terrifying than stumbling into one after greedily looting a barrow. In fact, the Draugr could even be considered as the archetypal form of the zombie, just they have a thing for treasure and remembering their past lives. From Old Norse, the term Draugr literally means again walker, but can be traced back to the Proto-Indo-European Draugos, which means phantom or drug, to deceive. In Nordic mythology, these guys are revenants that often lurk in graveyards and cemeteries, unsure what to do with themselves after wistfully being reanimated from the dead. But while they may be decayed sacks of flesh and bones, they're nothing like the modern interpretations of the living dead. They possess superhuman strength, can increase their size at will, and carry the revolting, unmistakable stench of death and decay. I mean, they can't exactly sneak up on you, but if you're ever in the sight of a Draugr, or if you wrong them in their mortal life, you're pretty much done for. In fact, the majority of Norse mythology's bravest warriors couldn't ever defeat a Draugr, and even the most legendary heroes had a tough time in doing so. Not only that though, but a Draugr can also be created at sea, and often have a habit of washing up on shores only to wreak havoc on unsuspecting villages as a terrifying, briny zombie, slightly chewed on by a fish. Swinging in at number 3, the Fae. You might be thinking, fairies? What the hell, Jack? How are fairies scary? But, well, let me tell you a little thing or two about the Fae, because you're pretty much done for once these guys hold a grudge against you. The Fae of Celtic folklore, otherwise known as the Tuathua de Danann, particularly centre around that of Scottish and Irish mythology, and represent a race of mystical entities that reign over an ethereal kingdom in the wild places of the world. In many oral traditions, the Fae have a structural system that resembles a regal aristocracy, often having a king and queen as well as many underlings. Despite their often charming and arcane appearance though, their shtick is to use honeyed words and false promises to lure unsuspecting humans to their domain, where their intention is to either torture you as their plaything, straight up kill you, or enslave you to an eternity of psychological discordance. In the mythos of the Fae, there often tends to be two opposing orders, the Seelie or the Light Fae, and the Unseelie, the Dark Fae. But don't be fooled, because they're both hellbent on stealing children and leaving behind a changeling, which is a whole other horror story. If you're ever out lost in the forests of Britain, beware the will-o'-the-wisps. Next up at number 2, the Nuchal. And we're sticking in the British Isles for a moment because the Scottish Orcadian mythology of the Northern Orkney Islands has one particularly terrifying mythological creature hiding up its sleeve, the Nuchal. And this guy was so ingrained in Orkney culture that for hundreds of years, islanders wouldn't even speak its name without immediately saying a prayer after. Picture this, it's the 16th century, you're walking along the shoreline of Strigoi, and in front of you, you see a rider on horseback. But as you get closer, you realise that this rider isn't as he seems, and in fact, it's a skinless man's torso attached to a horse's back whose arms reach to the ground. Its horse legs have fins and gills like a fish, and it has a single giant eye like a burning flame. Also, it emits a miasma of toxic vapours and reeks of death and decay. It was said that the Nuchal could wilt an entire field of crops with the demonic stench of its breath, and whenever it approached a lonely traveller, it would let out a terrifying, high-pitched scream that signalled the end of their life. It's not all bad though, because according to Orcadian mythology, this horrifying creature was kept at bay during the summer months by the Mother of the Sea, the great maternal protector spirit of the islands, where she banished the demonic Nuchal to the ocean bed. In the winter though, yeah, you're pretty much screwed. And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot, the Wendigo. Because when you boil it down, it's hard to find anything more terrifying, both conceptually and physically, than the mythical man-eating Wendigo. Explicitly tied to native Algonquian folklore, the Wendigo has historically been associated with murder, insatiable greed, and the cultural taboo of cannibalism. This horrifying, enormous humanoid creature is tied to the cultural belief system of a number of Algonquian-speaking peoples, including the Ojibwe, the Cree, and the Innu people. It is described as being gaunt to the point of emaciation, with desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones. Its complexion is the same ash grey of death, and its eyes are pushed back deep into their sockets, almost resembling a gaunt skeleton exhumed from beyond the grave. In some folklore though, the Wendigo are often described as giants, many times larger than human beings, and it would only grow larger with the more human beings that it had consumed. Its eternal craving for human flesh could never be sated though, and no matter how much it ate, it was always starving. Wherever famine and the cold are, the Wendigo soon follow. Yeah, I don't really need to tell you guys how horrifying the Wendigo are. I mean, just take a look at it. Well, there we have it, horror fans, our list for the top 5 scariest creatures from mythology. What do you think? Why don't you let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, as well as your choice picks for anything you thought we've missed. Before we depart though, let's take a look at some of your more entertaining edifications from over the past few days. First up, Almost Evil says, can someone buy Jack more than 5 shirts please? I mean, feel free guys, I'm a men's large, I like black, but I'm open to anything. I do have more than 5 though, and obviously a jacket. Next up, Wood Tracy says, please put me out of my misery, make the damned intros shorter. But what about the outros, Wood Tracy? And finally, LDC Film says, you're not Jack Finch. Damn it, what gave it away?
You got me, guys. You got me.
Come on, buddy.
I'm sorry.
Come on, dude.
You want your jacket back?
I do want my jacket back. You're smarter than that. You're smarter than that. Well, on that note, that's all we've got time for in today's video, folks. We've got to get Johnny to his next casting call. Cheers for sticking around all the way until the end. If you're a fan of this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, as well as that subscribe button. We'll be seeing you in the next one. As per usual, I've been your horror host, Jack Finch. You've been watching top 5 scary videos. And until next time, you take it easy.